Okay, so picture this. You're in the stunning hills of Meghalaya in northeast India. It's famous, right, for those incredible rolling landscapes, the living root bridges. It's just postcard perfect. But here's the thing. Beneath that surface, something's not quite right. There's a problem growing, and it's threatening the very beauty that makes this place so special. So let's dive in and see what's really going on.
You've got this tale of two Meghalayas, really. On one side, there's the promise, the one you see in all the ads. Lush hills, crystal clear rivers, this super vibrant culture. That's the image they're selling, and they're selling it hard. But then there's the reality for a lot of people who actually go there, and for the locals who live there. And that looks a lot more like broken roads, piles of trash, and get this, almost no public toilets. It's a huge disconnect, and it really sets the stage for everything we need to talk about. And that brings us right to the heart of the problem, what we're calling the unkept promise. It's all about how this intense focus on splashy, high-visibility marketing is just completely overshadowing the fundamental, basic needs of the place. And what's so wild about this is how basic the failures are. Seriously, we're not talking about a lack of five-star hotels here. We're talking about the absolute bare essentials. You go to these major tourist hotspots, and what do you find? A shocking lack of clean public toilets, no real system for managing waste, just garbage piling up, and roads that are frankly unsafe to drive on. And maybe the worst part? The local communities, the people who live there, they're not really seeing any of the long-term benefits from all this tourism. So it all comes down to this. The focus is totally on festivals and campaigns, not on building a solid foundation. The whole strategy seems to be about these big, flashy, temporary events. Music festivals, huge marketing campaigns. Instead of doing the boring but essential work of building infrastructure that's going to last. Okay, so that brings us to our next big question. Budgets versus basics. Because if you really want to understand why this is happening, you've got to follow the money. It reveals a whole lot about where the priorities really are. Yeah, so the big question is, where is the tourism money really going? Is it being put back into the state to build something lasting, or is it just being spent on the next big, flashy event? And when you look at the numbers, it's pretty revealing. What you see is this huge imbalance. A massive chunk of the budget is poured into events and marketing, while just a tiny little slice goes to permanent infrastructure. So you might have, say, a multi-crore music festival getting the green light, but the road to get to one of the most famous waterfalls is still a complete pothole disaster. That's the disconnect, right there in the budget. And look, this strategy, it only builds a short-term image. It's not built to last. It's like a house of cards, really. It might look great in a slick marketing video, but it does absolutely nothing to build a truly sustainable tourism industry that can actually support the region for years and years to come. But this kind of neglect, it has a real cost, and it's a high one. So let's talk about that. Let's look at the cost of neglect and what happens when tourism starts to literally destroy the very thing it's celebrating. The most obvious sign of this problem is the waste, just garbage everywhere. So you have to ask, what is the government's actual plan for waste management in these super popular tourist areas? How are they dealing with the mountains of plastic bottles and chip packets that are being left behind? And the answer? Well, honestly, there isn't one. There's no real coherent policy that's actually being enforced. And you can see the results with your own eyes. Garbage piling up next to waterfalls, in beautiful sacred groves, all along the hiking trails. It's literally choking the landscape. This quote really hits home. When tourism is actively destroying the very natural beauty it is supposed to be celebrating, it has failed. Think about that. The very industry that's supposed to be celebrating this beauty is actually becoming the thing that destroys it. It's a total failure, a cycle that just doesn't work for anyone in the long run. But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. It doesn't have to be this way. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about a real solution. Let's look at an alternative path, one that's focused on a community-first future, on empowerment and genuine sustainability. So what is community-first tourism exactly? Well, it's a model that basically flips the whole system upside down. Instead of decisions coming from the top down, it gives the power to the local villages. It makes them the main stakeholders and beneficiaries. So imagine a local village managing the fees to a nearby attraction and then using that money themselves to build and maintain their own toilets, their own waste management. That's real tangible impact right there. And there's a clear path to get there. First, we need to demand that a real portion of the tourism budget is set aside specifically for these community-led projects. Second, we need to promote and empower these local groups to build and manage their own infrastructure. And third, and this is the big one, we have to give the villages real control, making sure they are the ones who benefit from their own natural resources. Which leaves us with one last really important question to think about. And this isn't just about Meghalaya, it's about any beautiful place we love to travel to. What does a truly sustainable destination even look like? Because it's got to be more than just, carbon offsets and reusing hotel towels. It has to be about creating a place where the promise that's made to us as visitors is also a promise that's kept to the people who actually call that amazing place home.